Welcome to T-Smack, home of the T-Smack. May I take your order?
Hey there, hi there, hello there. Welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and so much more. I'm your host, Josh Skaar, and joining me as always is my co-host, Alex. Alex, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. It is, spring in the Midwest. So yesterday it was 70 and today it's 41.
And we had a blizzard on Monday, so It's right on schedule with that spring weather here.
How are you doing this evening, sir?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful because I feel like I might be seeing double. There's another Josh in the room with us. It is Josh Wilson from the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. Josh, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm here in North Central Florida where we have conditions like in the morning I wake up, it's 48. I get dressed, go to work, and then it's in the 80s in the afternoon. And that is, I am not exaggerating, that happened a couple days ago. So there you go.
Sounds like a good spring day to me.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So you will have that big of a swing where you're at?
Oh, yeah.
Occasionally, yeah, we'll wake up and it's like high 30s, and then by the end of the day, we'll be going to bed and it'll be like 76. We get some pretty big swings, or it'll be 76 one day, and then like Alex said, one day the next day it'll drop down to like 32, and we'll just have the swing the other way.
Not a fan.
So Florida, Gulf side or coast or Atlantic side? What's your poison?
What's my poison? What do I prefer? Where am I at? Because where I'm at is in Gainesville, which is smack dab in the middle. What do I prefer? I don't know. I grew up in Miami, so I, was on that side in the Atlantic. But the Gulf of Mexico is pretty cool too. That's right. I said Gulf of Mexico. Moving on.
Its proper name.
Yes.
So question about growing up in Miami. What was it like having that orange filter throughout your entire life before leaving that area?
That wasn't as bad as always having to wear linen outfits, sleeveless shirts with jackets and no socks. That sucked.
Did you have to give up the speedboat when you left too?
Yeah, I did. Just at the Dade Broward line, and they're all lined up.
So as mentioned, Josh Wilson of the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast, you have your own podcast that I just said the name of. Please let everyone know about said podcast, because coincidentally, it is also the Super Familiar with the Wilsons promo week. But since you're here, might as well just let you plug it live.
Super Familiar with the Wilsons is the podcast I have with my lovely wife, Amanda. We started it, as did several million other people, in the middle of the pandemic. And it is the podcast about marriage 2.0 with kids and all the side quests. And so that basically means that we can do and say whatever the hell we want when we're recording. And so we do. Sometimes we have interviews with cool people. Sometimes we just talk about our day. The thread of it kind of is we talk about marriage and parenting, but that could be anything.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Obviously, I'm a little biased, as we've been hanging out in some fashion in our podcasting group for 4 or 5 years now. At this point, it's been crazy to say that I've known you that long. But we did actually get a chance to meet up once when I was in Florida this last October, which is a wonderful surprise as well.
That's right. And our little one, our 9-year-old Winthrop, is still upset because we went to a restaurant in Disney Springs that was also a bowling alley, and we sat next to the said bowling alley and we didn't frickin' bowl. And he mentions that all the time.
Yep, we went to Splitsville, and unfortunately we were not able to get an alley reserved because we didn't know what your time frame was, and I believe that was our last day on site before we had to get to the airport the next day. That was our arrival day. So we weren't quite sure exactly like how tired the kids were going to be. We didn't make great plans to really go that extravagant. But meeting up with you is nice, and getting to meet Winthrop and talk a little K-pop Demon Hunters, that was great too. I hope he at least enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, he did. And let's be clear, there's no way in hell I wanted to bowl.
Okay, Josh, if you're going to go to a alley and not reserve be able to reserve a lane, the moose outside should have either told you something about the lanes being closed that day, or you got to throw a fit and force John Candy to take you onto a bowling lane. One of the two, man. You can't just like walk away from that. The children are disappointed. You went all the way down to Florida.
Which Josh are you yelling at?
Both.
All right, so we need to do something here. We got to be Wilson and Skaar just for this episode, or we will get nothing done.
But super familiar with the Wilsons. Definitely check it out. As I mentioned, it is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Josh and Amanda know some wonderful, amazing people. They get to interview some crazy people in the best kind of way. Not like, oh my God, did you hear that crazy person they spoke with? But Josh, the reason you are here is because you were asking to come on the podcast so vehemently that I was like, we're gonna go see Project Hail Mary and review it. You want to come with that? And you're like, deal, let's do it. So let's get into it. Do you want to do full spoilers, or do you want to kind of like talk a little non-spoilers, give our Talking Smack ratings, and then talk full spoilers?
I don't know if I know how to do non-spoilery. Like what? There's this movie. I liked it. I didn't like it. Ryan Gosling. Is that a spoiler? I don't know.
I guess, yeah, you said before we were recording you didn't watch the trailer, so you wouldn't know exactly what's spoilery and what's not. So let's just, did you like the movie? Josh Wilson, did you like the movie?
You know, it's not going to be a clear thumbs up or clear thumbs down for me. It was, yeah, I mean, we can get into it, but I'm undecided. It may need a second viewing.
Alex, did you like the movie?
Unabashedly loved it. I cried like 3 times and I didn't expect to. Yeah, it was fantastic. I haven't read the book or anything. I just was going in based off the trailers. There was some slight concern that this was just a Martian 2 movie because, hey, it's a solo dude stranded in space making quippy remarks and talking to the camera the whole time. But it became so much more than that, and went to some areas I was hoping but wasn't expecting it to actually go, and pleasantly surprised me. Yeah, I loved it. I'm kind of mad I didn't take it on our blockbuster draft now.
I am curious to see what kind of legs it has. It did open to about 140 million estimated as of Sunday evening recording time. Globally, I believe it was about 80.4 million domestically. So it had a really good box office draw, especially for March. I liked the movie well enough. I have read the book ahead of time, and I will say that the movie focuses more on things that I was less concerned about in the book, and they completely shuttered out a lot of the stuff that I was really engaged with in the book. And I'll get into that as we talk about it, but I'm gonna kind of let you guys drive the conversation because I think it was, again, a very good movie, and I agree with Josh. I think I maybe need a second viewing of it now that I've seen what the finished product is, to take it in as it is and not me being like, okay, that's different from the book. Okay, that's different from the book. They chose to go with that. There was a lot of me just being like, okay, where's this from the book coming in? Oh, they just completely disregarded it. Oh, they changed this. Oh, this is 1-to-1. So I need to go back in and I just need to be like, be in the moment. Try to shut your brain off and just follow along. But I do think it is a very good movie, and I do think it's one that people should see because it is just very well made and very funny in a very homely way, which is something that I'm a sucker for.
It's interesting you said well made. You know, that's one thing that I had no sort of equivocation about is that it is beautifully made. The cinematography, the way that they played with camera angle, they'd have weird orientation of the camera, especially in the space scenes, especially early on, to lend to this idea of disorientation and maybe lack of gravity. And they continued that right throughout the movie. I thought that the cinematography should win awards.
I'll be curious if this does carry on because this is like the second year in a row where we've had a March movie come out that, at least on the surface of it, should be in contention for a lot of big awards. Maybe not Best Picture, depending on how bad the year goes, maybe. But like technical stuff like cinematography, adapted screenplay, visual effects, all that sort of stuff, it should definitely be in the running for. But it's got to go 9 more months before people remember that this movie came out. Like this might be one of those movies that we dub as like that was this year, but we'll see. Um, but in the talking spec rating, I say it's a must see. Alex, you said you loved it. I assume it's a must see for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Josh Wilson said it's a must see because he wants to go see it a second time.
That's right. I'm not quite certain what you created the must see category for is that, but yeah, listen, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, and I did cry as well at certain points. There's just certain things about it. And I don't know if you want to talk about the great things about it first, and then the things that we didn't like so much, or how do you want to drive this train?
Well, let's just go straight into spoilers. Alex, we'll start with you since you really enjoyed it and you've been giving Justin a real hard time in our solo chats with him. So let's start with where you want to. Let's start with where you want to go with this film.
Well, Justin, if you're listening, you have told us many times you've seen movies 3, 4, or 5 times to fully digest them and then give them like 2 stars. You need to go see this movie again so that you understand what concept of relativity and fat and like near light speed means. Okay. But no, like I really dug the movie because I was slightly not slightly. I was very much concerned that the movie was going to be Iron Man stranded in space, and we're trying to do a rip on Ridley Scott since The Martian like 10 years ago did really well. But now, Matt Damon's been saved like 4 or 5 times now. We got to find somebody new. Ryan Gosling. We got to get the audiences used to him being in space because this year he's currently busy heading off into the unknown, and then was it next year or the year after he's going to be in Starfighter. So we got to get people used to Ryan Gosling. He's a space boy. He's a space adventurer with Star Wars and sometimes Andy Weir. But I'm grateful that the movie very, very quickly pivots and doesn't pivots to seriousness and the pain of isolation and the gravity of the deaths that occur that end with him alone. And then as Rocky is introduced, which was Rocky was in the trailers, that he's also suffering the deaths of his people, and that he's also isolated. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I liked the way that they played with his amnesia. That Grace, Ryan Gosling's character, had amnesia, and as he discovers himself, they build the timeline of what brought him into space. And the more things built up to that, I kept hoping for a reveal, and I was pleasantly surprised the movie actually did not pull back from it, but actually leaned into it and let us know that truth. Because most Hollywood movies you can feel them pull their punches to the end, because you always want your person to be a hero, to be the savior, to be the smartest person in the room. What is it called? Competency porn. Like they call that, like the TV show The Pit. Every doctor is fully competent. I mean, yes, they make mistakes, but
that's The Martian. The Martian is competency porn. Everyone is doing their job to the best and fullest of their abilities.
Yeah. No one makes mistakes. It's always there. And I really liked it. I was just enraptured by the beauty of it and the little things that they spelled out for you without actually spelling them out. And I also like that there was a few little hanging things in there that they didn't answer. Like I fully expected them midway through the movie or something, like after he discovers how Rocky's compatriots died, I fully expected him to then go, oh, that's how my guys died too. But they never did. They just went, they died, and I'm not looking into it, and I haven't looked into it, and I don't care. I've jettisoned their bodies. I'm moving on with my life. So I really dug most of it, and I'm just happy with it. It felt good.
Well, I agree with the idea that the message of the film was a good one and it was well delivered. I have no problem with that. There was a scene near the middle where the mysterious director got up and sang a Harry Styles song, and it hit me as a perfect depiction of the human condition. We are here. Ain't none of us going to make it out of this life alive. And what do you do with not knowledge anyway? And all of these things, of course, I'm, in my 50s, and so I'm dealing with my own mortality anyway, and so I'm thinking about this shit now. But all of that was, to me, loaded into that scene and delivered very well, and giving me that message without overtly spelling it out. And I loved that, and I loved the fact that it was kind of a buddy cop movie. That was cool. Although, granted, I don't know about you, but it was very distracting to me that Rocky looked like a giant Thanksgiving turkey. Just kind of, I couldn't get that out of my mind. If only they hadn't have made his body shape just that kind of turkey rotisserie chicken type of shape. But I loved the relationship that was built there. I did, however, think that the movie had problems with tone. I think that you say that he went into this ship, into this mission that he wasn't prepared for, and he kind of fumbled around. I still think that he was too competent. I mean, sure, you're a scientist, sure, you're an engineer, but they didn't show us any scenes of him training how to pilot this spaceship, how to find, even the main compartment, all of these things. And so I kind of thought that I was hoping that it would be a lot more difficult for him. So I think that he showed too much competency. I think that especially in the beginning when they're meeting the people from the different scientific organizations in the world in that one room, and it was just almost felt like a Seinfeld episode because they were kind of going back and forth with zingers. And I was like, well, that just doesn't feel appropriate for this scene. I love humor. I just think that there were some times where this movie was a little bit too silly in an unrealistic way.
That's a Lord and Miller specialty, to their benefit and to their detriment. This is their first directorial credit since, I think 22 Jump Street in 2018. Everything else they've been producers on. They've produced the Spider-Verse movies. They've produced the Lego movie. They've also done, I believe, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and then a few other things. They were also on the Solo Star Wars movie, but they got fired because Alden Ehrenreich tattled on them and said the movie was being turned into a comedy and they're allowing too much improv. And so Disney started looking at the dailies and oh my God, this isn't Star Wars. And so they got fired from that, and they've mostly just been producing and writing ever since. But this is their first directorial credit, I believe, again, since 22 Jump Street. And yeah, I think the humor, it's really welcome in moments because of how it's not exactly that Marvel level of oh God, we can't let this dramatic moment linger too long. We need to have a quip. If that, it feels natural in a sense, just because of how competent everyone is in their authority. So the back and forth is really good, but I don't disagree with you, Josh, that maybe the moment didn't quite need someone to make a zing or put in a zinger for this top secret meeting on a ship in the middle of nowhere and being hey, by the way, the Earth is dying and we're trying to figure out how to create all these little astrophage cells to create sublight engines. So yeah, I don't disagree there. But the opening scene in the when he's getting let out of his bag is a really good encapsulation of where the book is different from the film pretty significantly because as Josh was saying, the how competent he is just immediately out of the bag, literally. In the book, he wakes up and he obviously he can't talk, but he's cognizant in his head. He's kind of got locked in syndrome, and the computer's talking to him. He's hey, what's 2 + 2? And waiting for him to have verbal faculties. But he's going through the process in his head, and he's just it's 4. I'm not saying 4, but he's processing, and he's trying to figure it out. And he can't get out of these 2 rooms between the med bay and a bathroom essentially, until he can say his name. And everything that happens in the book is told through these flashbacks that he's remembering. So the the time difference, the nonlinear storytelling mechanic in the movie and in the book is actually flashbacks of his memory coming back. And that's something that I feel like the movie kind of missed. Is it felt more like the nonlinear storytelling was just kind of like, here's the setup, but we're not telling it to you in order. It didn't quite mesh with the, like, oh, I'm recovering my memories sort of stuff. And like I can understand the opening not being one to one with the book, especially for a movie, but it really kind of takes away from Grace's ability to, or the ability to show how good at science Grace is. The movie does a lot more of just like telling us that he did a thing. Because to jump towards the end when he does the Taumiba farm, when they find the predator for the astrophage that's eating the sun. In the book, that's like 2 or 3 chapters that they are building these farms, trial and erroring, and trying to build a strain that is able to survive on Venus. And in this, it's like, oh, Rocky's been knocked unconscious for 3 days. I've done this thing. Look at this thing that I've done. And like, hooray, we're good. We're going to save our planet. It's like, that's what I was talking about earlier, where a big part of what I really enjoyed about The Martian and what I really enjoyed about the book is the problem solving. This movie has no time for problem solving. They immediately just do like either a quick montage or they just say, hey, we did the thing. It's done. Hooray. Good for us. Let's go back to being buddies and doing that thing. So like that's kind of where this movie misses the mark for me, is it's not showing us how the processes are done, which, like, it's a movie. I can understand why you don't want to have these repetitive science experiments, but you can find a good in between, because there's little things like the montage of him showing off how good Rocky can hear because of his echolocation. That could have been a little shorter, and we could have spent more time on the science stuff, because again, in The Martian, that was some of the more interesting and exciting stuff. And this movie really just did not feel like felt like it did not have time for it.
Well, but that makes sense if you look at the movies and you determine, okay, the premise of this movie is we're going to deal with this one man's imposter syndrome. We're going to deal with mortality, and we're going to deal with this friendship. And we're also going to take this man who seemingly has nothing to live for or nothing to sacrifice his life for, and we're going to give him that thing to sacrifice his life for, right? If that's the intent of the movie, then all of these this change of focus from where the book was makes perfect sense, because everything that you're talking about was extraneous, was reinforcing the relationship or reinforcing something else about, these story spines that I saw running through the movie. The frustrating thing is when they do that to the detriment of common sense, when they do that to the detriment of considering that there's someone in the movie theater like me who looks at that and says, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. That wouldn't happen in the real world. He wouldn't be able to figure that out that quickly. It's interesting because I intuited that that the flashbacks represented him getting his memory like pretty quickly. And then at the same time I said, well, that's interesting. He seemingly has amnesia, but he immediately knows that there are other passengers in the ship with him. And so he goes to check to see if they're alive. That didn't make sense to me. And it pulled me out of the movie.
Oh, see, I thought that was just like he looked up and saw there's other medical beds, so he climbed up to them. He's like, I was in a bed. There's other beds up there. That's the thing, like the whole passengers thing to me. But I'm kind of confused why you guys think they didn't spend a lot of time on the science. Like, it took them. They showed that very, very long sequence of him trying to prove that non-water-based life forms existed, and then it turns out he was a failure in that, and that the phage was that. And then how to figuring out how to get them to breathe. And then he spent a long time figuring out like how to talk to Rocky. And then him and Rocky collaborating on building stuff. Like, I felt like they did a lot of collaboration and working together and showing that the movie's almost 3 hours long. They can't show everything. In fact, like he even was like, hey, Rocky, remember that thing you built? I got it to work. So please wake up, buddy. And then, of course, it worked. But then what happens? Towards the end, he figures out, well, we got it to work, but I didn't account for this. So it's so it's getting loose. And so it's going to kill you. So I need to figure out something around that to make sure it works for you. I felt like that would have been just like another 30 minutes on top of a 2-hour and 40-minute movie.
No, you're not wrong. I think
Yeah.
this movie would have been better served if as like a 4 to 6 part miniseries. Like do 4 to 6 1-hour episodes of the book, almost 1-to-1, and I think it's still really good. I think this movie is a really good speed run of the book. I just really connected more with the in-depth science stuff that they did in the book. What you're talking about with the Talmebas becoming adapting to the ability to move through the super metal that Rocky's people have created called Xenonite. That part of the book is like him again trying to figure out exactly what happened, and he's like, "Oh my god, I trained these microbes, these microbacteria to become resistant to nitrogen, but in doing so, I also trained them to be able to escape through these molecules and these metals." And in the movie, they just go, he's just like freaking out. He's like, "Oh, Rocky, oh my god, I bred them and they can't get out because I bred them in the tank that's made of the thing." Like, and it's like a super quick and very obvious explanation. Like, it's not a detriment to the explanation of how they got out, but it just comes across too quickly, and he's just like he puts one and one together really quickly, where that's not exactly how it would work in science. They would be like, what are the variables? What happened here? Why is this different than other things?" There's just little moments where it needs to slow down with the science and really show it off, than just be like, "I'm so smart. This is how I figured it out this quickly. Let's move on."
Sounds to me that you would have enjoyed the movie more having not read the book, and I would have enjoyed it more having read the
Yes.
book. Now we've discovered our problem.
And I'm just goddamn happy. I love the movie.
I'm really kind of mad that I read the book first, but at the same time I'm not, because I really love the book. And like this is a really good adaptation of it, but I think again it might be better served as a miniseries than a movie. But maybe not as many eyes would be on it if it were a miniseries.
Well, I will tell you that when I kinda got past myself and when it got past that one scene in the middle of the movie, with the director lady singing, I really settled into, okay, this movie is about their relationship, and I found it very moving. Um, and I got emotional, embarrassingly. I'm a grown ass man here in a movie theater with my daughter next to me, and I'm like, um, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed that second half of the movie. When I allowed myself to lose my preconceived notions. The only thing that bugged me is, why did they have to give Rocky a cute uh, little gurgly noise? Felt very Steven Spielberg E.T. to me, that bit.
Which, by the way, we should give props to Eva Stratt, the head of the Hail Mary Project. Her name is Sandra Holler. Apparently, this is her first English language movie. Bravo! Because you mentioned that scene a few times where she, it's like the night before liftoff or a few days before liftoff. They're having a party there. Grace is kind of avoiding being around people and kind of challenging her a little on, like she's always just this stoic person. And she casually mentions that, oh, she likes singing. And then they go back to the party and she decides to sing whatever the heck that song is
Sign
called.
of the times.
Yeah, by the way, thank you for using a song from the trailer actually in the movie, or I guess a song from the movie actually in the trailer. It goes on. She sings 3 minutes of the song, maybe. And I really love that because she put emotion into it. They did lovely pans around the room to see like the people there, all these people they've already let them know that when they do this mission, those who are going are not coming back. It's a one-way trip. They got enough to get out there. It's going to take about 12 years at near light speed to get there, and they have almost no fuel to turn around. They just got to float around the star, hopefully solve the problem and then I think each of them have chosen how they're going to die.
Yeah.
They mentioned that like, oh, like I won't mind starving to death, and the person's like, I'm going to take it. I'm going to overdose.
Yeah,
But
that's actually a really big part of the book too. I don't mean to be like, oh, the book, but like that's my role in this episode, I guess. They make a big deal out of it in the book because yeah, Ilyukna, she's gonna die of a heroin overdose because she's heard that like being extraordinarily high on heroin is amazing, but then as you like crash, like obviously that's terrible. So she has the chemists come up with a side effect that is going to like slowly just put her to sleep while she deals with the downside of it, and then she'll just kind of go out that way. And then Commander Yao was going to be the last one to go, and he was just going to take a bullet to the head. Which, like, sorry, trigger warning for people, that we should probably say something to that effect with that. And I forget what Grace's, the person who was originally supposed to go in Grace's place, what their plan was, but yeah, like there's a whole chapter about like them just coming to terms with that, and we've talked about it a few times. Is something that the movie does really well that is not in the book, is that it does foreshadow that Grace is not there for altruistic reasons. From the moment he wakes up and he gets out of his bed, he is he's going through everyone's stuff. He finds vodka. He's getting drunk. He is not being proactive at all. He is not doing the science stuff that, like in the book, he's just kind of like, I seem to be smart. I can figure some stuff out. Let's keep going. In this, he's just kind of like, what the hell am I doing here? I don't know what's going on. Let's get drunk. And I think that's a really good foreshadowing of his like true nature, until, as Josh Wilson said, he finds that reason to be brave in Rocky, to make that sacrifice, to do the things that he needs to do to save not only Earth, but Iridian too.
By the way, props to Lord and Miller for cutting out the 10-minute sequence of telling the audience how best to commit suicide. I gotta give that to them.
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
Step 1, get lost in space.
Yeah. Someone get lost in space. Step 2, get a hell of a lot of heroin. That's all I could think of. I was like, man, if they include that 5-minute snippet, this would be an R-rated movie. I can only imagine Squirrel Girl just sitting there going, "Oh yes, we need heroin." It's like, what?
All of a sudden, she loses her AT&T job.
Exactly. Disney takes her out of her voice work in any of the Marvel games.
So, what were your favorite parts of the film?
I referenced that one scene that we're going to reference again. The director singing. That kind of was one of my favorite scenes, because that snapped me into the mindset of the movie, and it got me in a good place to see the rest of the movie. I enjoyed any of the things with Rocky, him in his little hamster ball, discovering Grace's habitat was pretty fun, and then him subsequently building his own crystal cocoon in there. I enjoyed that as well. And I enjoyed the payoff. Sometimes we don't get payoffs in movies. I enjoyed the payoff at the end of seeing him in his habitat with the ocean, and then teaching a class of aliens. I liked that. I enjoyed that.
I think, to me, the most satisfying payoff of the film was you follow along the story, and you get moments where you find out Ryan Gosling is not Grace is not the Martian. He is not just peppy optimistic the whole time. As you said, like, he was drinking, which, by the way, a random little thing, which I found hysterical. When he's in his like bodysuit bag thingy and starting to waking up, trying to climb away from stuff, there is a tube hanging off directly off his ass, and I laughed so hard because that is such an graceful thing. They're like, okay, we're gonna build you. You're like, if you're gonna have been in this bag for the 4 like Earth years that are gonna pass while you're 12 light years flying or whatever with all your he's like, so there would be a poop tube, so we're gonna make sure to include that on your suit. I laughed way too hard when I was like, what is that? Oh, he gets a few opportunities to show that he is willing to try new things. Like, he doesn't want to learn how to be the pilot. He's a scientist. Anytime he gets in the seat, it's like, no, I'm not the damn pilot. When he first encounters Rocky's ship, he tries to lose it. Just flat out just tries to like avoid him, which, there's no gumption to actually be a hero, encounter this new thing. He only
that's another foreshadowing moment too of his true nature before like he attaches to Rocky.
Yeah, he discovers the astrophage is actually like oxygen, whatever, water-based life form, which kind of blew up his theory that he got ostracized 4 years ago. And they're like, cool, thank you for figuring that out. We're done. And he almost winds his way into the project because he doesn't really want to go back to the kids, but he does because he's a middle school teacher. Even then in the classroom, when he could just talk about the line, what's it called? The Verisos line or something? The line from the sun to Venus that is eating.
The Petrova line.
Thank you, the Petrova line. He's even in that room, in that moment, he's like, I shouldn't talk to you guys about, you should talk to your parents about what any of this stuff means. And as it keeps going, he and Rocky bond really well. And then we get other moments where he has lied to Rocky. They're like, oh yeah, once we're done here, I'm just going to fly home. Everything's good. And then Rocky figures out, he's like, wait a second. And that you're just going to stay out here and just die. And that all culminates with someone made a mathematical error before they took off. The other scientist got killed. And Ava tells him, yeah, you are our backup plan. And you have 3 hours to decide. And then he goes into the room, tells her, yep, you know what? I'm not that guy. I'm not going. I'm going to just hang out here on Earth. Going to wait for everything to freeze and die. And she's like, well, I'm kind of expecting that. And then he fights them off, takes off running. And no, they forcefully hold him down, knock him out, drag him to the ship. And I love that she just says, by the way, we're going to tell everyone you're a hero. And it turns out that he is just an utter coward the whole time, which I love that buildup because as it was building up to that, because all these scenes are just spaced throughout the movie, and it's maybe the last like 15 minutes that it gets to that point. I was so thrilled because most movies would have backed out and he would have been like, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. Or it would have been like, I don't know if I can. And then like they bring in the kids like, please save us. You're our teacher. We want to grow up in a world that actually still exists. Or they would have just had it be, they just overwhelm him in the office. But no, they show him just running for his life and begging them not to do it, not to inject him, even though they tackle him on the ground. Even if he's fighting them all on the ground, don't do this. And was it Carl, I think is his buddy?
Carl, played by Lionel Boyce.
Yeah, and he's just like, no, you got to go, man. You're going. And I love that because that shows you who the informed character throughout the entire film had been. And that now he's at this point that he is the one who did it. He's the one who figured this out. He worked with Rocky. He figured out this stuff, that he is going to launch the stuff back to space, back to Earth and Ed Wright, that he has started to overcome himself. And I really, really loved that. That to me was like a wonderful, big emotional payoff that he deserves his hero's ending. Instead of just a normal film would have been like, well, he was a hero all along and we know that.
Yeah, when I read that part in the book, like my jaw dropped. Like I was just like, oh damn, he kind of sucks. Is he the bad guy in this? Like, holy cow. And yeah, like it's a really nice build up and payoff to that because yeah, he kind of comes to terms like, oh, that's who I was. And Yao was right. I didn't have someone to really fight for. Like I thought it was my kids in my classroom, but even then, like that wasn't enough for me. And now I have Rocky, and now I'm willing to go that extra mile to do the things that I need to do. And like it's a beautiful moment, a beautiful scene in the movie and in the book. My favorite, I kind of agree with Josh Wilson that my favorite scene is when Rocky like gets to go inside. He rolls up in his little hamster ball. He's like, "Hey, Grace, how's it going?" He just starts rolling through. He's like, "I can't wait to see human technology. Wow, this is a mess." Rocky, almost anything with Rocky. I wish they would have done a little bit more stuff with how Iridian's process, because again, the little things in the book that just really show the difference in how they view things, because Rocky is an engineer where Grace is a scientist. So like there's different viewpoints as well that come up in the book. And there's little ticks that they have to like balance with each other because on Earth we do everything in base 10, but in Rocky's world they do everything in base 6 because they have 3 digits on their hands, so they can only do 6 at a time. And so there's like little differences here and there. And there's just really fun stuff where it's just they're doing science and then Grace makes a mistake because he's tired or something, because Iridians don't sleep as often as humans do. Like they might sleep in longer cycles, but they sleep like once every 4 or 5 days, or maybe even like 6 to 8 days. Whereas humans, obviously every 12 hours we need sleep. And so Grace is going on like 18 hours of no sleep or 48 hours of no sleep. He's like, I'm tired. I need rest. And Rocky just gives him a hard time. He's like, human brain dumb. Go like just stop being dumb and go rest. And he's like, shut up. I'm not that dumb. You're dumb. It just there's little camaraderie moments like that builds into like this brotherly love that in the book they obviously have time to build out, and in the movie they just kind of again speed run it. But like Rocky is just so dang cute that you kind of forgive a lot of it. Which there are a couple of Easter eggs that I really enjoyed. Which one is very early on when Grace is by himself after he wakes up. He's writing on his little dry erase board, and he's just like, "Always have muscles?" question mark, which is a nice nod to the book because obviously they need to explain why he looks like Ryan Gosling and he's not just this disheveled lump of blobbiness like in Wall-E or something. Because in the book they explain that Armando and there are several other arms that are like constantly massaging his muscles while he sleeps to maintain muscle tone and everything so that he doesn't like wake up and he's just like, oh God, I have no muscle depth or anything. So like that's something that's a nice little nod to the book. And then the other thing that I caught was when they find Rocky's name in the list of like pre-programmed AI generated voices that they have for Rocky, the name that they pick for Rocky is just called James, which is named after Rocky's lead puppeteer, James Ortiz, who is also the voice for Rocky. So that was a nice little Easter egg that if you're looking for it, you can kind of pick it up. Which like Rocky being a largely practical puppet as well, I thought was a really nice surprise. Like I fully expected him to be completely CGI. So there are moments where it's like, oh, that's obviously CGI Rocky. Like, but a lot of times it's really hard to tell whether or not it is a puppet or CGI, which is really welcome and good.
Oh, see, it's fun. It's so funny that you said that. I didn't know that that was a puppet, but I guess I should have. A part of me probably assumed it was CGI, but I didn't notice. It didn't look weird or fake. So that's very interesting. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good mix of like shadow puppetry and yeah, CGI. And then did you guys also pick up on the wall of things from the first contact after they build the tunnel between the ships? So there's like the different panels are all different materials.
Mhm.
And once Rocky realizes what Grace can see through, he's like, "Okay, leave, go, bye now." And then the next day he comes back and it's the wall is now entirely gone, but it's made of the same material that Grace can see through. So like that's super cool attention to detail stuff that I really appreciate in movies like this.
I just find it adorable that he has a little bandolier and little like waist belt of tools. It is freaking adorable.
He has a full-on uniform in the book.
He needs a full
Which like for a
uniform.
species that can't see really, it's weird that they would have clothes, but you know, whatever.
Well, and it's funny because I had assumed that Grace had made that stuff for him and had passed it through the the bank chute. I didn't assume that that was just his because if he was, I don't know, his atmosphere is supposedly very hot. I wouldn't assume that cloth material could survive there. I would have assumed it would have been some sort of metal mesh because that's what he did with everything else.
In the book, do they confirm that Rocky is a what is it, oxygen water based creature, or is he also one?
He is also one. He's organic.
Because I assumed that Rocky was a confirmation of his theory.
Unfortunately, no. Like I thought that I
Oh.
was waiting for that in the book, but no, he has internal organs and stuff that are all like water based. They run hotter. And that is one change from the book that is played off more as a joke where Rocky's like giving Grace a hard time where he's like, "Oh, you eat like that? That's so gross. How can you eat like that?" And then he's like, "Oh, how I eat is beautiful." And he just like shoves his hand up his bottom side. In the book, apparently, the way Iridians eat is like kind of gross. Like they expel their stomachs and just kind of like envelop what they're eating, and it's like it's something that they do in private. Like they're almost like the Mandalorian, where oh, I'm gonna go take off my helmet and eat now. So like it's something where they're kind of ashamed of eating in front of people, like it's embarrassing for them. But I also liked Alex that you talked about. Maybe it was if one of you mentioned the spaceships and like the running away and everything, how they animated that where it's almost kind of like stop motion animation. It was like the animation just looked off with how it was moving through space. I kind of liked it because it's almost like you're watching it through like a telescope because you're obviously not going to get a one-to-one nice smooth image, but it was just kind of janky moving. And I thought that was a really interesting choice to show how the ships were moving.
I enjoyed the humor of that scene, but again, it reminded me of like one of the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. Bugs Bunny was in one of those ships, guarantee. Um, that was that kind of humor to me.
It's funny you bring up the Looney Tunes because I was really trying to figure out a bit to open up as like doing my really bad Marvin the Martian impression, but I was like, I can't tie it back to the Martian. Like, there's not enough thread there for me to just be like, oh, hello.
All right, so you're welcome.
See, I loved that interaction because when the computer lets him know like blip B showing up, and he's like, "What is he launching to me?" And he's like preparing for like a missile or something, and it kind of bounces off. He's like, "Oh, maybe he wants me to get that." So then he goes out to try to get it, fails, and then we're preparing for round 3, and he's really super prepared. And Rocky just fired it directly, very slowly, directly into the open portal, right into his chest. Right between the numbers, as they would say in football. To earn a catch. I love that. He's like, they think I'm an idiot.
He
Which
thinks I'm dumb,
Yes.
was what he said.
Yeah. And then I love that Rocky tries to communicate with puppetry to him. And I still swear that first round of puppetry was not him go back to your ship, but you come over. But he's like, oh, you want me to leave? And he just takes off. But I'm looking at them like, no, you're traveling to. No, he wants to
Oh.
interact with you. And then he takes off. I thought that's what he was trying to tell him what to do. But then Grace like leaves in like abandoned ship. Like abandons
Yeah.
like their interaction.
I didn't think that. I thought that he wanted him to go back so that he could adjust the environment, adjust the tube so that it would better suit him. That's what I assumed.
Yeah, because it was the Hail Mary that he had like created a thing of. So like if it was a rock going into that, like either way, it would make sense that he would want to do that. So yeah, Alex, I think your media literacy from Iridian puppetry is a little off.
But then if they just met, why would he tell him to go away?
Because
So
he needed to make the hole so he
make
could
it
make the
better.
big window. Like they just went through that whole trial and error thing.
Okay. See, to me, I thought it was just along the lines of like, okay, so we're interacting. This is you. This is me. You're coming over. Or like, I'm coming over there. Okay. Because they hadn't showed that Rocky was like 5-limbed yet. Oh, okay.
So what did you guys think of the ending with Grace ending up in his little biodome on Iridian?
Well, I already said it. I really enjoyed that payoff. I enjoyed the oh god, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I enjoyed the happy ending. So yeah, I liked it. And I liked the tag with the director um, receiving all of his videos and then getting the little metal thing and then keeping it. I really liked that because I desperately wanted to see, okay, what's it going to be like on Earth? And I didn't think we would get that.
That is actually a pretty significant change from the book because in the book we don't go back to Earth. In the book, they just kind of have Grace wake up. It's just another day on Iridian for him. And he's actually like 30 years older at that point because Iridian has a denser gravity pull. So he's aging a little bit faster. And Rocky just comes over. They have a chat. I think Adrian is with him too, which that's a little thing from the book that I wish they would have done is they would have included Adrian in Rocky's visit. But I'm sure they probably were like, people aren't going to understand two rock people being there. Like they're not going to be able to tell who's Rocky and who's Adrian. So just have it be Adrian. But other than that,
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's really simple. Is you just put a wig on the other rock person. Therefore, boom, Adrian.
I like it.
Bam, you got it.
They got me with the seemingly the two sacrifice scenes of them sacrificing each other for each other. I cried. I cried after he woke up and then saw. I never thought I'd be upset over a crispy charcoal briquet laying on the floor, but apparently I was. I know he's going to be fine. They're not going to like do like a super rug pull at the end and have him fail in his mission of abandoning Earth to fly 56 days to find a stranded Rocky. I know that. But come on, the longer they delayed him knocking on the damn thing, the more I got upset, okay? But no, I loved that he ended up hanging out with Rocky. They built him a nice little Truman Show style bubble to live in. They did reference Adrian at one point, like, "Oh, I'm gonna have Adrian fix what is it?" He said, "Fix the water" or something like that, with the water
water
effects or something.
temperature.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then it ends with the cutest shot of like a bunch of different piles of rocks jumping up and down, very excited to answer what is the speed of light. It was really sweet. I loved it. I absolutely did love it. Also, another thing I loved about the ending. They did the payoff. I hate in trailers when they like film scenes just for trailers. And the longer the movie went on, the whole like, so I met an alien. I was so thinking that was just going to be a trailer line. But no, he actually says it because he starts his his video log, which is the payoff of the video log is he's sending it all back to Earth for them to discover everything. And yeah, apparently a frozen Earth getting the Beatles package of how to reactivate the sun, and you have a nice final scene of Ava being happy watching from the bridge of her icebreaker ship, watching him interacting with Rocky. I liked it. It was great because it shows that there's still some hope on Earth. Now she might be the only one left alive on Earth.
No, because she called over to someone and said, let's get started, or whatever she said to them. So there's at least two.
Yeah, her and Carl, the only one left alive. Which I loved that. I really did love that. The explanation as to like, listen, it's going to take you 12 years to get there. You can't get back. You can fire off the Beatles to get back to us. But I really did love that. Like every month we delay is like a quarter of the population is going to die, because we've been telling everyone, hey, listen, it's okay. Only like 25% of you will die in 30 years. And then she says, that's if the world's governments work together, and they won't. It's much higher than that. I really like that because that paid even more into how much of a coward he is, that he knows the full stakes he has top secret clearance now. He knows the full stakes, and he still says, no, I'm good. I'm going to just stay. She could not have hammered it home more to him or the audience how important it was that he go, and he still just backs out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
One thing I really wish they would have included, or at least found a way to make happen, is make the situation in the flashbacks come across a little more dire. And one of the things they cut from the book, which I think is a really good encapsulation of how dire and desperate they are to buy time, is that at one point in the book, they nuke Antarctica to melt the ice caps and release methane into the air to create greenhouse gases to kind of keep the Earth at a relatively higher temperature while the sun is cooling. And they even talk about like, if and when we fix this becomes a problem. And they're like, we'll figure it out when we get there. We have to survive first and it like, that's part of that Martian thing that I was talking about, where the Martian is about like, you solve this problem, you solve that problem, you solve the next problem, and then maybe you get to go home. And this movie in that book, the book is also a lot of that, where they're creating future problems to solve a problem now. And it works together in a really nice circle that comes back to Grace's journey, because it's kind of an inverse of what Strat has to go through. Because in the book, she's just kind of she's not even like Nick Fury. She's just this powerful person appointed by the UN or the nations of the world. Get the people you need to solve this. Money is not an object. And in the movie, she feels a lot more handcuffed, like sympathetic, like it's the burden of the crown kind of thing. Where in the book, she's just like, I don't care. I really don't. None of this matters. The only thing that matters is saving the Earth. Any consequences that come afterward, I will deal with. But the only thing that matters right now is getting to our solution. Whereas in the movie, again, she feels much more sympathetic, and she feels like her choices are weighing on her, where you can kind of get that in the book, but at the same time, she's just like, I don't care. It is what it is. This is the lot I've been dealt, and I'm going to just roll with it. So like her authority and how highly ranked she is in the status of like world leaders never really feels like it reaches that point as it does in the book, where just like, while they're trying to figure out and get to the point where they launch the Hail Mary, she's untouchable. And there's a point in the book where she's like, I fully expect to go to jail by the time you're out of the stratosphere. Like, something's going to happen where I am the scapegoat and I go to jail and I die in jail. That's fine, as long as the earth is saved.
Yeah, I would have loved that level of seriousness in the movie, because I do think, again, the visuals match the story that you're telling. The visuals, the color palette, the gray color palette in the early parts of the film, and right throughout the visuals match, but I don't think that the tone and the dialogue necessarily match. And to me, that's where the dissonance is. And I don't think that's going to change upon second viewing.
I got a question. Who nuked Antarctica?
Strat
And how
did.
fun? Okay, no, but like, whose nation's nukes and how
Doesn't
fun
matter.
was that? Because I'm like, you gotta admit, if you're the person who gets all the this across the wire, like, nuke Antarctica. I mean, okay. Screw you, penguins.
And hope that the XO Denzel Washington doesn't show up to stop you from doing it.
Or when they should what is the third season of Chucky, the TV series. He nukes the Arctic and says, "Screw you, Santa." It's like, okay.
I know that's how escalation works, but like, how do you go from Chucky the doll that wants to possess a child so he can live again to being him nuking the Arctic?
Oh, you got to watch all 3 seasons. It is a
I don't
through
want
line. Basically, what happens is he ends up as the doll of one of the president's kids, and just kind of like kills his way to the basement, and it attacks and it decides to kill Santa.
So in the Child's Play universe, Santa exists as well. Interesting.
Apparently, he's a cabinet position.
I mean, he would have to be able to travel over all that international airspace.
Oh man. So I unabashedly love it. I don't really have a problem with it. Other than, we didn't science the shit out of it enough for you guys. Like, Wilson, what is one thing that holds you back from like wrapping your arms around this and stroking Rocky's little bumps?
Okay. I think that on its own merits is holding me back from like
Caressing
I said,
his air vents.
Yes. Oh God, eating with him. Like I said, it's a tone issue, but once I was able to get past that, I enjoyed the movie. So, I mean, the one thing that makes me stop is, gosh, a little less Michael Bay, a little bit more, Arthur C. Clarke, just make it a little bit more serious, just a little teeny tiny bit, so that the stakes feel earned and the emotional payoff feels more earned.
I can see that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Josh Wilson, because the tone is kind of the issue. Like, I think Lord and Miller did a really good job with this, but I think their penchant for comedy kind of gets in the way of what this movie could have been. Like, what would a Ridley Scott version of this look like if he just kind of got the book and said, okay, yeah, let's film this? And I really would just be curious as to see what another director or pair of directors who are not as comedically inclined would do, because I think Lord and Miller have an amazing visual style. Like, they know what they want to shoot. They know how they want to shoot it, or how they want to present it on screen. Like, you can look at the Spider-Verse movies. They're only producers, but like, those are very much their movies as much as it is anyone else's. And I think in terms of the visual style of this, it is, and the visual language is very much theirs. But the dissonance between the no pun intended gravity of the survival of Earth and like almost reigniting the sun, essentially, not quite like Sunshine, but close enough. This being a buddy an odd couple comedy, it's like really just right in that sweet spot where it's like not quite too funny, but it's not too dramatic. And I think it is in a sweet spot, but I would prefer it to be a little bit more dramatic because I think the weight of that scenario deserves it.
I can see that.
But God bless Rocky. I've fallen in love with The Rock twice this year, and I don't hate it.
Oh, so you saw the Smashing Machine. Okay.
No, Rocky in the book and in the movie. God. Any final thoughts on the movie? Was there anything else you guys would like? Alex, what would you have changed out of anything you saw in this film? What's one thing you would have changed? Josh Wilson and I have said quite a few things, but you've been really unabashedly loving on this movie, which I can't blame you for. I think this is a really good movie, and I honestly wish I would have waited to read the book, but I was so excited to know what this movie was really going to be about that I could not stop and wait for the movie. If you haven't read the book and you're wanting to see the movie, do that first and then read the book, because I think the book elaborates a lot more on what the movie did, and I think it kind of gives you a little bit more. But the movie is something that I think you should take in on your own. Like I said, I want to see it on my own without trying to completely compare it to the book the entire time.
I would have liked to understand a little bit more of who the heck Ava was. I understood she was in charge of this thing, but they really didn't do a good explanation of what her role is. Because like I think I looked it up, and apparently she's the head of like NASA Europe, and becomes like head of the entire organization and gets given carte blanche to build this thing. So I would have liked a little bit more explanation of that, because I still wasn't sure what the power dynamic was, other than occasionally you see like the representatives all in front of there, and she goes, I give him top secret clearance. He can know about Hail Mary. So I would have liked a little bit more of her. I also would have liked a little bit more of the two companions of his that died, Squirrel Girl and the other person, because I didn't realize that's who they were, because they were like half a scene each of like, I think there's like one sentence of like a Russian accent where I was like, okay, so you're the Russian. And then their husky dead bodies. Other than his reaction of finding the dead bodies and trying to give them a send off, I had no emotional tie to them at all. So I would have liked a little bit more of the stakes on Earth being a little bit more explained of like why she has this power, and maybe how long it took to build these giant astrophage powered engines that launch them out. In flashback, it seems like 2 months. I'm not getting the sense that it's been years.
That's another thing in the book that they build a giant astrophage generator, essentially, like the or breeding ground in like the Sahara Desert. Like it's just this massive piece of land that's just constantly generating astrophage that they're collecting. And again, in the book, it's super interesting, but in the movie, you don't really have time to say all this stuff. They also again talk about how like this is going to make greenhouse gases and it's going to create a problem once we don't need this anymore. So like there's a lot of creating problems that they're like, we'll solve it if we can. But yeah, I think that's a really good critique of the film, is that again, there could be more context to who other like smaller characters and smaller players are, but they play a significant role in Grace's life. Which, last question for you guys, do you understand the pun of the character's name, Ryland Grace?
Oh, yeah. He's Grace and the ship is Hail Mary. So Hail Mary full of grace.
Yes, there you go.
I'm shaking my head.
It was about the 17th time they
Blame
said that.
Andy
Like,
Weir, not me.
I was like, oh yeah, it's literally the ship is called the Hail Mary and it's full of grace. Yeah. I was like,
Yep.
oh, okay, yeah. I was like, because it actually took me a second after he's like, he keeps calling him Rocky. And eventually he's like, oh, so what is your wife's name? And he does this wrong chirpy sound. He says, I'll just call her Adrian. I was like, no, that's not a bet.
And you call yourself a movie watcher.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a really great conversation. If you have not, dear listeners, seen Project Hail Mary, we all recommend in some fashion you go see it. But Josh Wilson, you have a podcast, once again, that people should be listening to. Please let everyone know one more time what that podcast is.
It's called Super Familiar with the Wilsons, and it's me and my wife Amanda talking about the second marriage, the 4 kids, the one dog. There might be even more people around here. I'm not quite certain. So just look up Super Familiar with the Wilsons wherever you catch your podcasts.
And Alex, people can join in on the conversation, talk about Project Hail Mary, talk about the Spider-Man trailer. Where could they talk with us about that sort of thing?
You can join our Discord. It's tsmackpod@gmail.com. Feel free to join us. Or you can just click the link below. It's where we post most of our movie news and thoughts on, trailers, announcements, all kinds of stuff. And eventually, we're actually going to have a functional website versus the half-derelict state I have it in currently. Where you can go to see some of our other fuller thoughts as long-form conversation. I believe it's called a B-log. B-log? That's what the hip kids call it?
It's like a vlog, but only with words, no video.
Oh, interesting.
So you can find us on the Discord with the link in our episode description, or again, you can find us at tsmackpod@gmail.com on the Discord. You can also email us your thoughts, questions, reviews at talkingsmackpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media at Talking Smack Pod. We are on Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you to Leo Allen for our musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Ale Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. If you're listening on YouTube, hit that like button. Josh Wilson, there's a TV show that people should be watching out there. They say, "May the Force be with you." How does that go? What show should they be watching?
Star Trek. Thank you.
Who loves T-Smack?
I love T-Smack. Is it true? Mm-hmm. I do. Ooh.
I legitimately forgot Live Long and Prosper for a second.
That just makes it funnier.
Ooh, live long and prosper.
Very good.
Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. That's all I got for you.